I lost weight, but then I gained it back and then I'd lose it again. And it was that typical yo-yo effect. I had previously worked with a personal coach, failed terribly with him, and I was kind of discouraged, but knew I needed to do something. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt, physically miserable and uncomfortable, and hated myself. I bit the bullet and did reach out to you. I wasn't going to let anybody rip that apart
Yeah.
this time. Doing what I needed to do and focusing on what I needed to focus on to reach my goals. There's reasoning, psychological reasoning behind everything and anything I'm thinking, feeling, wanting, touching, whatever it is. I learned the most about all of this through you.
What do you think is the most important thing that helped you change about yourself?
Confidence.
Hmm.
Very confident.
How much weight have you lost?
Almost 30 pounds, two
Okay.
clothing sizes, whole new work wardrobe because my pants were falling down on me. I just feel so much better. Point now where the numbers on the scale don't even matter right now. It's just how I'm feeling and what I'm doing, that I know that I'm working towards that, that better person. Jessica rocks. If you're toying with the idea, you're almost there. You just step into the batter's box. Have faith in yourself and have confidence. Don't let others discourage you, and make that call to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Lawson, founder of the Bariatric Success Academy, and I'm here with one of my most incredible clients who just completed an 8-month transformation journey together. So, what you're about to hear is a story that I think will really give you a ton of hope because this is someone who struggled for 15, 17 years after their surgery, tried almost everything out there, and finally found lasting transformation. And what makes Erika's story really just so powerful, she didn't just lose weight. Like when she came to me, that was important, but throughout the journey, that became one of the least important things too, right? So she completely rewired her brain's relationship with food and herself during one of the most stressful periods of her life. And she did all while juggling a demanding career and caring for others too. So if you're someone who's been struggling with weight regain for a while, or you've tried, diet after diet, program after program, if you're wondering if lasting change is even possible after all this time, this conversation's for you. So, Erika, first off, thank you so much for joining today. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited to share your story. And I know we chatted previously, but let's start from the beginning again. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your bariatric surgery story? So, I knew you had surgery in 2008. So that's now 17 years ago. But
Right.
how those first few years go? What happened over those 17 years that really led you to reach out to me in the first place?
hmm Yeah, I had gastric bypass in April of 2008 and lost initially about 110 pounds. Um, and then in 2010, about 2 years later after my surgery, I had some skin removal and lost another, say, 8 or 10 pounds from that. And life was great. I was skinny. And so, life was great in the regard of physical. Um, but, with that comes a lot of changes throughout life in general and just connections and different things. And, um, losing weight doesn't fix everything, as we kind of feel like sometimes it does, and it doesn't. So ultimately, I did end up getting divorced, and going through that and the dating life after 20 some years of being with my now ex-husband, the weight slowly crept on. And I gained not all of it, but I did gain a lot back. And throughout those years, I did Weight Watchers, I did Jenny Craig, I did all kinds of different things on my own. And I lost weight, but then I gained it back and then I'd lose it again. And it was that typical yo-yo effect. But then you popped up on my Instagram about, I guess it's been about a year now. And I yeah, it's just another thing. And I had previously worked with a personal coach that I failed terribly with. It was maybe a 6-week, 8-week program, and I failed terribly with him, and I was kind of discouraged. But knew I needed to do something. I was at a time in my life where I was middle age and needed to kind of focus on the future and know what to expect, know that I can plan for the future and be healthy. So I bit the bullet and did reach out to you. I think that was February. So it did take me a couple months to convince myself and continue to watch your videos over and over again. And here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, here
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah. Almost a year later. So,
Yeah.
so let's go back to 2008. Why'd you have surgery?
I had two small children. I was probably just miserable overall. I mean, my marriage was failing. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt physically. I thought if I lost weight, my marriage would get better, or my relationships would get better, whatever it was. And I convinced my ex-husband that was something I wanted to do, and I would do it, and it would, be great. And it was. I mean, ultimately it was, and I don't ever regret any of it. But it does, like I said, it doesn't, losing weight doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a history of gaining it back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so it sounded like you had surgery because you weren't as satisfied with your life as you could be. You saw more for yourself and thought, this will help me fix some of what I'm struggling with. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. And so in 2008, how old were you?
Right. Wait, no, I was 39.
Okay. Got it. So that's relatively young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how old were you when you feel like you start having issues with your weight? Was you really like 5, 10, 15, or older than that?
So I remember thinking in high school that I was overweight. Looking back, I was not, but I think it was just society and peer pressure and all of that, because I wasn't skinny, but I was probably a, normal size. But after my first child, in 1996 is when I really started putting on the weight.
Okay.
Um,
How old were you when you first started having issues with food?
I think I've always had issues with food.
Okay.
And I think, in all these months of talking with you and working with you, it's come out that, every night was ice cream for dessert after dinner. There was no question, and there were Pop-Tarts for breakfast. So I was never taught growing up that there were limitations or there were issues or there were, my mother never had a weight issue. My father, sister, and I did. And, but back in the 70s, and it wasn't like it is now, like it's not in your face all the time to watch what you eat. So we had the sugary cereals and the Pop-Tarts and the hamburger helpers for dinner and, that kind of packaged processed stuff that is just going to teach you to want and eat all of that. It's not smart.
Yeah. And when you had surgery, did you even know what a relationship with food was? Or like, did you even know that that was the problem?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And, it's funny in the years since, I've spoken to people that have had surgery and speaking with you and others in the group. There should be, and some hospitals do this, but there should be that psychological component of figuring that part out and not just having surgery think that surgery is the end all to be all.
Yeah.
Because really surgery is just the tool and the little kick in the butt. But it's the rest of your life that you have to I don't want to say worry about, but you have to be aware of what is causing you to grab that, whatever it is, you know. Is it obviously, like for me, the ice cream would have been habit because it was just something that ever, um, but it's a lot of psychological that we don't realize.
When do you think you first even realized that was the issue?
Probably one of my rounds with Weight Watchers. I think over the years,
Okay.
it was probably brought up a little bit. Not, it was touched on. It wasn't a full um conversation of the session or the meetings or whatever. It was touched on that, oh, you have I don't want to say they called it an addiction, because I don't think they did. I don't remember. Honestly, I mean, I learned the most about all of this through you,
Yeah.
and the facts that, there's reasoning, psychological reasoning behind everything and anything I'm thinking, feeling, wanting, touching, whatever it is. There's something behind it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
into deep.
Yeah. And so by the time you first contacted me in February,
Mhm.
like you said, you were at your wit's end after, nearly 2 decades, or I guess 15 years of struggling, really.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, paint us a picture. At that time, back in February 2025,
Mhm.
now November 12th, 2025,
Mhm.
what did your daily relationship with food look like? Like, walk us through what maybe a typical day or maybe a stressful day looked like for you.
Yeah, it was nothing was planned. So, my husband, I'm now remarried, and my husband and I would go to the grocery store, and we'd get food and say, well, one night we'll make this, and one night and let's get this for lunches. And it was kind of very haphazard, and nothing was thought through, nothing was planned. It was all grabs, just like, oh, it's time to eat, so let me go look. Like, I wasn't ever starving, um, but I knew I had to eat. So, breakfast time, I'd have a bagel, or I'd have Danish, or I'd have, something, um, just whatever I could grab. And then for lunch, it would be the same type of thing. Oh, I have some tuna, and I'll make some tuna. Or I had some deli meat, or leftovers from dinner the night before. And then dinner was kind of like thrown together at the last minute. Nothing was ever thought through. There was never the protein. But there was always protein, because I still stuck to the protein, but rarely vegetables, rarely carbs, because you get in your head that, carbs are bad. Um, and then I would always have dessert, and I would snack throughout the day. I would snack. Pretzels was my big thing, and I always had pretzels, and I always had protein bars, and I would kind of just, anytime I went into the kitchen during the day, because I worked from home, I would just grab something, even if I wasn't hungry. Well, I was just it wasn't a thought. It was just, oh, there's a protein bar, let me grab it. Or there's a bag of chips, or there's pretzels, or whatever it is. And that's what it looked like. And then I would sit there and be miserable and uncomfortable and hate it myself. So,
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can relate to that too. And so after, 50 years of this cycle, like what was your breaking point that made you think this time would be different? Right? Because you said you worked with another coach and you had told me about that during our
mhm,
very, very first call together.
mhm.
And it sounded like that wasn't a brain-based program. It was really just kind of like lo- someone tracking what you were doing, right?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. It was, yeah, it was,
But yeah, but I think what I see a lot is a lot of people think they're broken when they've
mhm,
been struggling for this long, and a lot of people think that they're hopeless and that this is just the way that they are and there's nothing that they could actually be changed about them. But
mhm.
what do you think it was that made you feel like this was going to be different? Like what made you willing to invest decent amount of money in yourself and trust another coach, another stranger on the internet when you've tried so many things and potentially been let down before?
Yeah. Um, so I remarried in 2024. So I had been married a very short time when you and I first spoke. And I had been wanting to do something because I was starting a new chapter of my life. And, my kids are grown, out of the house, don't even live in the same state. My now new husband and I had lots of plans for our life. Um, and so I wanted to be able to enjoy those times that we had been talking about and wanting to do for the next however many years. Um, and like I said, your videos came across my Instagram, and I watched them and I watched them and I watched them. And then you and I spoke. And the fact that you've been through the surgeries and the surgery and the regain, and that there was just something that when you and I first spoke, that I knew that you were going to help me to get what I needed. And I didn't know what that looked like. Like, I was only thinking I'm going to lose the weight. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to worry about my steps. I didn't want to worry about exercise. I just wanted to lose the weight and move on because I needed an easy fix. Still in my head all these years later, that's what I thought I needed. Um, and that wasn't it at all.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
totally. And so tell me about the first few weeks. So you joined the program, you start working with me. What was different like about this time? And when did you first think during our time working together, like, wow, this is actually going to work?
Yeah, so one of the things was that, you know, I think you had kept saying, and in your videos I kept hearing that it doesn't have to be complicated. And I remember that I would sit and try to map out every single bite that I would plan to take prior to working with you.
Yeah.
And it just became so overwhelming and so stressful. And I think that's what made me fail in the end for all of those programs. But you sat and you explained, I want to say in layman's terms, basically like what I needed to do in order to get to where I wanted to be, wherever that was, without being complicated, without being stressed. The first few weeks I was stressed. I remember reaching out to you and saying, I feel like the head noise was the food noise was all about what am I going to eat next, or what am I going to plan to eat for my next few days, and all, the planning and the plan was all very stressful, and I wasn't, I didn't have the food noise of, oh, I want to eat all I want to eat. It was more of the planning and the preparation and the the making it work, making it happen. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
the term, but I
You
can't.
were thinking more about the logistics of food
Yes,
versus wanting to eat.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because you were also
Um,
probably starting to feel relatively full from some of the meals that you might not have wanted to eat some of the next meal too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was never, um, for many, many years, I've never really been hungry. I never feel that hunger unless, um, it's been really a long, hours and hours and hours. But it was more about, I know I need to eat. I also several years ago was diagnosed with diabetes, so I have that component in me as well. But so I know I have to eat. I know that I have to eat smart and make the smart decisions. And what has Jessica said to me in the past week or the past 3 weeks or whatever it is that is going to help me to make those choices. And it really, I think it was, I don't remember exactly, maybe the second or third week, I had gotten on the scale and I actually lost weight. And I was shocked. I was shocked. And then I
Yeah, why
started
are
like,
you shocked?
because I'd done this before. I,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and it was a significant amount of weight. It probably was like 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, and then I remember sitting there and thinking, you and I may have even had a conversation. I don't remember, but like looking back on the last few weeks and what I had done to get to the loss of the 5 pounds. And I realized I wasn't eating anything after dinner. And every Friday, I was sitting down and I was mapping out my breakfast, lunch, dinners, and 2 other snack meals so that and then I would go grocery shopping. I would make the list and I'd go grocery shopping. And then on Sundays, I would prep. And I had a refrigerator full of containers. All I had to do was grab a container. I had already done all the thought and all the work in that 1 or 2 days. And then my whole week was set. So, and then I would come into the office. I was working in the office a couple days a week at that point, and I would be bombarded with cookies in the kitchen and snacks and crap and all kinds of stuff. And I would walk right past it. And I was determined not to eat it because I'm in my head now, I'm working so hard to continue to lose this weight. And I was tracking my steps
Yeah.
because you got in my head and I was taking the long way back to the bathroom from to my office and all kinds of different stuff. So in within the first month, I was just mentally a different person.
Mm. What, how would you describe the person on day 0 versus day 30?
Day 0, I was still talking negatively to myself.
Yeah. I hadn't taught
I
you.
mean, yeah, right, right. I was really just, I had no hope that anything was going to change, Day 30, I was feeling better about myself physically because I knew I was putting in the work. And I was seeing results in the fact that, one, the scale, two, I was doing measurements. And you instilled that just because the scale isn't moving doesn't mean there's not change going on. So I would do my measurements and that would show that there was, change. And I felt better. I felt like knowing that I'm going to walk past that kitchen at work and not eat anything felt so good to me. And then I also had my husband who was not really in a good place eating wise at the time and didn't want to be bothered with anything. So he would buy stuff and have stuff there all the time, cakes and cookies and all kinds of stuff, donuts. And I remember he bought a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts from the store and he brought them home. And I said to him, "You do realize I'm not going to eat any of those." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you'll have one or two." And so that was my challenge for the week. I am not touching those donuts. And I didn't. And it was like a game, but I turned what was upsetting me and what was used to be a trigger into a game of, you can do this. You can not eat those donuts. You don't need them. And you can be fine. You're going to live, you
Yeah.
know?
A lot of what makes people successful, both in the program, but also, in really any weight loss journey is really just belief.
Yeah.
Belief that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone that had bariatric surgery, there's already, a bit of disbelief. And if you're regaining weight, there's even more disbelief, right? Like,
Yeah.
you physically amputated your stomach, or if you had the bypass, it's a different scenario. But, it sounds like by seeing improvements, whether it was scale or not scale, each day you started to have more belief in yourself. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. And
Absolutely.
one thing you told me too was that, and I know I do this, but I really focus on the science, the neuroscience behind why things happen, because
Yeah.
a lot of people I work with are type A perfectionists, like smart women
Mm-hmm.
that they know, like, eat, they think it's eat less, move more, but there's so much more to this journey than that. Like, that's
Yeah.
the last thing you should be thinking about. And so I'm curious, like, how did that science-based approach really just change your understanding of things after struggling?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I think, the biggest part that helped me. Because you would say things, I would share a concern or a incident or whatever it is. And your response came from the psychological process, and the way you worded it explained it or made me see what was happening in a way that I had never thought of before. Like I had headaches for the first few weeks and I couldn't figure out why I was having headaches because I was eating, I attributed headache to being hungry or being, lack of protein or whatever it was. You said it's probably because you're having a um you're not having enough sugar, you're kind of like I stopped the sugar, not intentionally, but it just wasn't something I was scared, I wasn't
Yeah. We went
eating
from
it.
eating ice cream every night to not, right?
Right,
So
exactly. I was eating cookies and brownies and ice cream and all kinds of crap, even the protein bars and all that stuff, all day, every day. And then I stopped that. And so that's what the headache was from. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that makes total sense. And it was just the little things like that, the way you would explain it in a more psychological way helped me understand it and helped me realize either how to change my thought process on whatever that situation was or to just to see things in a different way,
mm, okay.
in a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe this answers this, maybe the question I had to ask was just answered, but what was about my coaching style specifically that you feel like worked for you when other things hadn't?
Yeah. Well, one is that you've experienced it. You've lived it. Um and the psychological. Yeah. I mean just the way you word things and explain things, um it's like a light bulb goes off, at least for me. I mean, it was like you'd explain something and I'd be like, oh my gosh, that makes total sense. All these years I've been thinking something else, and you just in 5 seconds made it, make complete sense in a completely different way.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. And then you finished the first 16 weeks. We started the maintenance phase.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I'm not going to like dive too much into the details, but you know, a lot of things happen in your life.
All hell broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, all around the same time of when I started my second session, my husband got very sick, and and it changed so much, but it didn't, in a sense. I- I've shared with you so in my head, had gotten to a point where I was consciously eating and planning and prepping everything that went into my mouth. So even if I was going out to the restaurants, I was looking at the menus before. I knew what I was going to get ahead of time. Everything was planned and prepped.
Yep.
And then my world turned upside down, and my husband was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. So my breakfast, lunch, and dinners were not what they were, and I wasn't able to be home and prepping and doing and all of that. Um, but when I would go into the cafeteria, I would get a grilled chicken breast, not a slice of pizza. Or I would get, I ate a lot of grilled chicken breasts at the hospital, but I didn't grab the donut that was also there or the chips that were also there. I mean, I did once in a while. I'm not going to lie. I'm not perfect, but I still had that in my head of wanting to continue. You know, I was still on the program and I wanted to continue that, even though life was lifing, as I say, because this, and at this point now I know my life is not what I thought it was going to be. My husband's terminally sick, but not, I mean, he'll be around for quite a while, God willing, but he's, you know, but it's a different life. And so, you know, that's not an excuse to stop eating healthy, because every week there could be something.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I think what you really learned was it's not just about eating healthy,
right.
right? It's prioritizing yourself, which
Mhm.
to someone listening to this might sound wild and crazy given what you just said.
Right.
But I think the I think the single biggest reframe that we made in the last 4 months for you was in order to take care of him, you have to take
Mhm.
care of yourself.
Yeah. And I kept thinking that too. Like you said that to me. And so when I would go into the cafeteria at the hospital, or when I, you know, when we were now home and things were in an upheaval and I didn't prep for every day of the week or every meal of the week, you know, I kept thinking back to that, what you said is that I need to be able to take care of him. And in order for me to be able to be my best to take care of him, I need to eat healthy and I need to get my steps in and I need to, you know, focus on what I need to be the best person I can be.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do experience regain in those moments of crisis. Like
Absolutely.
that's how mine started, right? Like my
Yeah.
father passed away and I get messages every day from people that are in a similar moment of crisis, but
Mhm.
it's what you do in those moments of crisis that make the difference, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so what do you think the old Erica would have done over the last 4 months versus what you actually did?
Oh, the old Erica would have totally bagged it. I mean, I would have gotten that pizza and gotten those chips and and I would have gotten soda. I mean, I'm not even a soda drinker, but you know, it was I would have been playing the victim in many ways. And one of them was woe is me. So let me just feed my sadness and feed my pain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Why
definitely.
yeah.
Because that wasn't the right answer. That wasn't gonna make him better. It wasn't gonna help me help him.
Yep.
Um, and I had gotten to a point in my, I don't want to say my life, but I'd gotten to a point in this stage with working with you and having you on my shoulder, because I always joke, you know, I tell you you're on my shoulder. Um, that I don't want to be that old person. I don't want to be that old Erica anymore. She wasn't she wasn't who I need to be.
Yeah. And we thank her because without her, you wouldn't have gotten to the point where you reached out for help, right? And, you know, you wouldn't have met your partner, you know, all
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
decisions, right? But it's okay to let go of that old version of you too. And
Absolutely.
knowing that food, you don't have to be this way. Like every day you wake up and you have a choice of
Mhm.
deciding who are you going to be today.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what was it about the complete program experience? So maybe it was I like the modules, the group coaching, direct access to me or the community, plus like the one-on-one calls. Like, what about it do you feel like made it work when nothing else really had over the last 50 years?
So yeah, all of that, I think as a package really works well because um, there's no pressure to watch all the modules, but they're informative and they're helpful and they're good to know. That's things the topics aren't necessarily things that I would Google to look up, to get answers or something. It was
Yeah.
more of a topic that maybe I hadn't thought of. So let me watch it and it's helpful. And oh wow, and here I have notes.
Yeah.
Um,
They're just supplement like the call.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said this 1,000 times. I think that it's really you. I think the way you present things, the way you have lived our lives in some way, with the surgery and the regain and the re-loss. And um, I think all of that, there are thousands of coaches out there. And like I said, I worked with one. One, he was a guy, so forget that. But he didn't have the surgery. He was coming from a fitness mindset.
Mm.
So, and that's what a lot of them do. And or they'll come from a, a, a fitness with a sidebar of healthy eating, but it's not, they're missing something when there's someone like me and this community that have had this surgery and have struggled because we still have limitations even 17 years later. I mean, my pouch
Yeah.
still doesn't like certain things and will, definitely let me know. So,
Yeah.
um, you having have lived that experience, is truly, I think, the biggest for me and the way you present things.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so what specific tools or strategies do you feel like became most essential for you?
Well, definitely the prepping and the planning, the prepping and all of that. Even if it's not every meal every day for every day, even if it's not the full meal, but it's maybe just making a bunch of chicken or making a bunch of tofu and having it to throw in to different things. Just and having the mindset that the mindset is totally different. I shared with you that I was exhausted one day leaving the house, leaving the office. I knew didn't have something for dinner planned. It was one of those weeks. And so I could have easily just gone home and we would have grabbed something. But I stopped and got a rotisserie chicken because I knew that would, and I already had salad stuff at home. So we had a rotisserie chicken and I pulled it apart and we had salad for dinner that night. Could I have gone home and ordered a pizza? Absolutely. But, that wasn't the answer. That wasn't where my mindset is now. It's more of I need to eat. I need to eat smart. My husband needs to eat smart now. And, um, what is the quickest thing I can do to make that happen and easiest? And
Yeah.
yeah, so my mindset has totally changed.
Yeah. Notice how you didn't say what's the perfect way to make that happen or the
Mm,
best. You said
mhm.
quickest, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's all about efficiency, like
absolutely.
keeping it simple, being efficient and effective,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So let's take a time machine back to April 2008. All right.
Mhm.
Erica's lying on the operating table. All
Mhm.
right. Surgery's just on her stomach, right? Or
Yeah.
digestive organs.
Right. Right.
I want you to compare the woman on the operating table to who you are right now. Yeah.
Mm.
Sitting at that table. Like, who
Mhm.
is Erika now?
Wow. I'm a lot older.
Don't
And
worry about that part.
um yeah, I mean, I just life is totally different. Um I definitely look at things in a much better perspective. Um no matter how hard life is lifing, you still have to take care of yourself and not sabotage. And that's what I used to do. And I used that word a lot in the beginning. And I don't feel like that's the person that I am now at all. I mean, I remember when back in 2008, before I had the surgery, it's the typical, my kids didn't finish whatever they had for their meal. So I cleaned the plate, whatever it was. I had my own meal, but then I would sit in the kitchen while I was doing dishes and nobody's looking. And I would, scoop the macaroni and cheese or whatever, mashed potatoes or whatever. Um, yeah, it's just, I'm just a happier person now. That was a lifetime ago.
Yeah. So if you could go back to, you know, let's say January 2008, you're getting ready for surgery. What would you have told that version of you?
Well, I remember that I ate everything and anything I could before before the surgery
Oh,
because
me
I
too.
wanted to make sure that I got it all in. Um, I
Called it my
vividly
food
remember.
funeral.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the last dinner, the last supper.
Yeah.
Um,
I went to Disney.
oh, okay. Interesting. I bet
And
you
I
could do a,
remember by 9 a.m., the park opened at 8 a.m. By 9:30 a.m., we had been standing in line at various places for so long,
uh-huh.
my back was hurting. And I
Oh
remember
yeah.
just thinking, holy crap, I'm 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I, what am I doing? Why am I doing this today? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, but sorry, you keep going. So
Yeah. No, no, no,
go
no.
back in
Yeah.
time, 2008, January, what would you say to that Erika before getting ready for surgery?
As to what to expect in the future, or what do you mean? What would I
Which,
say?
what do you think that version of you needed to know that you now know now?
Mm. Um, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. And um, in order, I think for anything, but particularly the weight, the body, the feelings, physical, mental, all of that, you have to put in work. It's not going to just happen. And it's it's a tool. The surgery is a tool that will help you along the way, but you need so many other things to do and to continue. This isn't just going to be a magic pill that you're going to take and you're going to lose the weight and you're never going to have to worry about weight loss again. Um, and that you need to stay strong and work for it.
Okay. Let's take one more time machine to February 2025.
Hmm.
What would you say to that version of Erika?
You can do this. Um, again, be strong, and it's all going to work out. Yeah,
Amazing.
and make that call to Jessica.
Yeah. And so how much weight have you lost exactly?
I've lost about almost 30 pounds, give or take. I mean, it depends on.
Was it at 30 now? Wow.
Yeah,
That's not.
yeah, it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Two
Okay.
clothing sizes.
Yeah.
Um,
Just went and bought an entire new wardrobe.
whole new work wardrobe because my pants were falling down on me. Um, I yeah, and I just feel so much better. And when I eat those pretzels, I don't feel so good anymore. You know, it's a um it- it's I don't want to say it's a sign, but you know, it's just proof that feeding yourself the good, healthy stuff is really what makes everything right.
Yeah, you are what you eat, right? So your
Yeah,
body's
yeah.
used to, it's the Maserati example. Your Maserati, if you put bad fuel in it, you're going to break down and not be able
Every time I see a Maserati, I think of you.
to. Awesome. And so, beyond weight loss and, food freedom, like, what do you think is the most important thing that helped you change about yourself?
Confidence.
Hmm.
Hmm. Very confident. Um, and I go still out of my way to get those extra steps in, no matter where I am, and marching in place. um, yeah, I mean, but confidence is definitely has definitely been gained.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Last question. What do you want anyone else listening to this who's maybe been struggling for years to know is really just possible for them, or anything you want them to know?
Hmm. Um, Jessica rocks. Um, I mean, if you're toying with the idea, then you're almost there. You know, you're kind of like you're in the batter's box for, you know, a sports analogy, and you just need to step in to or you're in the on deck, and you just step into the batter's box and just have faith in yourself and have confidence, and don't let others discourage you,
Mhm.
and live in a way. I feel like I kind of lived in a bubble in the beginning when I was starting this process, even though I was still living with my husband and eating with my husband and doing all of that. I was anything that he would say, "Oh, you'll just have one of those donuts." And no, I'm not. And it would like bounce off the bubble, you know, because I was in that bubble doing what I needed to do and focusing on what I needed to focus on to reach my goals. And I wasn't going to let anybody rip that apart
Yeah.
this time. And and you're there. I mean, at the drop of a hat, you know, send a message if there's a crisis or whatever, and the community, all of your other, you know, people. There's the community and the it's yeah. You just need to make that call and get it. Yeah. just
Gotcha.
just make that call.
Well, send
Yeah.
me a message. Actually, I do have a phone number. I do. That is true.
Oh, okay.
I do. It's mostly for texting, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Well, Erica, thank you for sharing your incredible story. So, after like 17, 50 years of struggling, like you didn't just lose weight, right? Like you completely transformed who you are.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
what's so powerful to me is that during our time together in your transformation, like life threw you every single curveball that it could. And honestly, those are my favorite times to work with clients too. Because if you can do it during the hardest moments of your life, you're golden, right?
Hmm.
The busiest, the most stressful, like all the times that you think you shouldn't join something like this or work with someone or, whatever, like the imperfect conditions, those are the best times, right? And so, you know, instead of falling back into old patterns or completely forgetting everything you learned, like you not only stayed strong, but you had like the right systems and processes in place, and we put them into place too if we needed to. And you made different choices.
Mhm.
right? You proved that your change is real, which
Yeah.
is the strongest thing you can do. Is stronger than losing a bunch of weight on the scale. Like, I'd rather someone go through the transformation that you've gone through than lose a ton of weight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm at the point now where the numbers on the scale don't even matter right now. It's just how I'm feeling and what I'm doing, that I know that I'm working towards that, that better person.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the best indicator too. So if you're watching this and you've been struggling for months, years, or even decades, it's never too late. Like, your brain can be changed, even if you don't think it can. I've had clients that are 70, like, it can happen. And you can have true food freedom even in life's biggest storms too. And Erica's living proof of that, right? Like, transformation's possible. So if you're ready to stop the cycle and create lasting change, book a call with me at the link below. And Erica, I've told you this a million times. Like, I'm just so proud of you, so proud of you. And you've done the work that some people are scared to do too,
Mhm.
right? Like, people are scared to address why they eat and change that. So I'm so proud of you. And I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to just see the rest of your journey too.
Thank you.